Welcome to Unlocking Academic English Vocabulary. Thanks for joining. Um, this is lesson 2.7, so part 2, the 7th lesson, the second part. And if you're a new viewer, these videos are part of a course, a video lesson series, where we are pretty much focusing exclusively on the category of academic English vocabulary. So if you're an intermediate to advanced learner and you are involved in self-learning for the purposes of test taking and perhaps essay writing or improving your writing, this is the lesson series that it's intended for. And in each, again, if you're a new viewer, we are looking at examples of like common, important, and relevant words, and breaking them down. The term etymology is the root meaning of words, because modern English is the evolution of Old English, which comprises it's an amalgamation of Latin and Greek and French and other languages, all combined into one common language, which is English. Academic English, it's academic in nature. It's advanced in nature in that it's frequently, commonly used in academic texts, and it tends to relate to things that are abstract in nature, conceptual. So more basic and conversational language is more functional, whereas academic is more abstract and descriptive. So it's the language of ideas predominantly. Now, it's also like these are long words, and my aim for you in these videos is to help you to recognize the parts of a word and to be able to break it down. If you look at this chart on this slide here, we see this example, unacceptable. There's a root word, which is accept, which is probably, the word accept itself is probably a word that has been built upon, even smaller components. But when the prefix un is added to accept and the suffix able added, it becomes kind of the verb becomes an adjective, right? And what prefixes do is they change the meaning, and what suffixes do is they fit the word to function grammatically in different ways: nouns, adjectives, verbs. Okay, so if you watch this course, you'll get a complete, a fairly comprehensive understanding of all of the common and important prefixes, all of the suffixes, so that their meaning and the meanings of like root words. So you'll be able to look at a word that may be unfamiliar to you, but you'll have some information that will help you to interpret the word, because so many words in English are just derivatives, words that are combined and built upon other existing words. So yeah, we're looking at the structure of words. Later on, we'll look at root words and combining forms, and later on after that, we'll also be looking at words belonging to word families. So it's a pretty comprehensive course, and we're in the second part where we're looking at prefixes. So prefixes, there's anywhere between 30 to 50 commonly used prefixes, and we're going through from A to Z, what those prefixes are, what they mean, and then we are looking at several examples of words containing those prefixes. And I would encourage for you to do your own research, open up the dictionary, open up your dictionary app, and look at type in some of these prefixes to see what range of words exist, and maybe you can infer their meaning just from recognizing what the prefixes and what the root words are. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. To make learning vocabulary a little bit more interesting and to give you a little bit more independence or autonomy in your self-study. If you haven't watched the course from the beginning, after watching this video, do go back to the first lesson to get an idea of what the overall goal of this course is, because prefixes are only a small part of that. And we won't be really we can't review previously covered information, and there's quite a lot of good information in each of these videos. Each lesson builds upon the lesson that came before, so do go back and watch the entirety of the course at your own time, at your own leisure. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. So today, in previous videos we looked at words that began with prefixes beginning with A, B, D, F. Right now we're on the letter H. And there's only two important prefixes in this category. That's hyper and hypo. Try to apply your thinking. What do these prefixes mean? The words that we'll be looking at today are hyperbole, hypertext, hypertrophy, hypocrite, hypodermic, and hypothesis. So which of these words here do you already know? Have you seen before? Very likely hypothesis, perhaps hypocrite. Okay. Hyper and hypo are very commonly used for medical and scientific, mostly medical terminology. So we see the word here, hypodermic and hypertrophy. These are more, these words belong more in the medical and scientific, in the field of biology, in that area, right? Hypertrophy and hypodermic, these are words that belong in the health sciences or physiology. Anyway, so hyper, it means over and above, a little bit like super, and hypo means below, a little bit like sub. Okay, so the first example here is the word hyperbole. We see a graph, and in mathematics, a hyperbola, the word hyperbola describes this type of line movement where it makes the shape of a bell curve. Okay, so again, the meaning of hyper we know means above, over and above, and then the root word in this word here, hyperbola, means to throw. So a hyperbola is a bell curved line. You can kind of imagine if you threw a ball, it would follow this path, right? Going up and then coming back down again. Now, a hyperbole is an overstatement or an exaggeration. So try to imagine when we are like communicating and sharing ideas, and when we exaggerate, it's kind of like overstating. You are stating the truth, but you're making it a little bit, you're exaggerating, right? You're overstating what you're talking about. Okay, so we see this this example here, the old metaphor of the cow jumping over the moon, right? Clearly, it's impossible. But this um, this metaphor or this figure of speech, over the moon, is a common idiomatic expression. I mean, it's used very commonly in informal speech. So it's a hyperbole, it's an exaggeration, and it's a literary device. Okay, so the phrase "over the moon," as in she is so happy she got the job, she's over the moon with joy, is a hyperbole, right? Over the moon um, emphasizes the feeling of happiness and excitement. Okay, so that's why we use it. We want to emphasize maybe a feeling of accomplishment. So anytime when we deliberately make exaggerations to express a feeling or to emphasize a point, we are being hyperbolic. We want to be cautious when we are, getting information online, fake news, for example, right? Um, Commentators online trying to gain attention are commonly being hyperbolic, um, fear mongering or spreading rumors or whatever, right? Hyperbolic types of discourse in the political arena, for example. Um, if you're interested in learning more about figurative language and literary devices, I have a three-part course, broken down into 9 videos, around 4 to 5 hours, I think, on the introduction to literature. So, if this is a subject that's of interest for you, do go back in the channel to look for Introduction to Literature, where I sort of explain many different types of literary devices or figurative language. Okay, so do check that out. Introduction to Literature. Hyperbole. The next word is hypertext. Again, hyper means over and above. Sometimes it means like hyper speed, right? The word text means an article of writing, as in a text message or textbook. And when we see this string of characters here, HTTP, in our internet browsers, HTTP is an abbreviation for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Hypertext. Now, compare the way we search for information in a book or a hard copy document with the way that we research online. Searching for information in a book involves checking the table of contents or the index to get a specific page number. So you're looking for a keyword, you have to manually check the listing at the beginning, the table of contents, and then you may also need to go to the back, the index section, to see if that keyword is found there, and then you go to the page number. Okay, so it's a manual process and can be quite time consuming, as we all know. Sometimes that information might not be available in that book, but the book will give us a reference, as in like check the author and the title and in another book, right? So it may mean checking the references section to find further information sources from other books. A book can only contain so much information, but the author may give the title and author the references to find more information in other books. In the modern day, since the invention of the internet, we simply use a search tool or a search engine connected to the internet. And when we're looking at an article on a web page, we find these clickable words, right? Text that is clickable is linked to other articles. So hypertext, the hypertext protocol, means a convention of designing and coding web pages that allow information to be shared by the fastest means possible. Hypertext. And the next word is hypertrophy. Muscular hypertrophy involves increasing muscle size, typically through strength training. So it's a physiological process by which, when we put strain on the muscle, through working out, strength training, resistance training. This causes the body to, this causes tears in the muscle, and that muscle needs to be repaired by the body with adequate nutrition. The muscle can increase in size, an increase in the muscle fibers. So the meaning of hypertrophy, again, over or above, more than, and the root word here means nutrition. So, in the Greek language, they understood health sciences and bodybuilding very well. In fact, everything that we know about modern bodybuilding is it goes back to the Greeks. So yeah, having more muscle fibers will lead to greater strength and muscle size. So this was known as a kind of a formal like protocol activity, different kinds of strength training, right? And they had a word for that, and that was hypertrophy. So if you're interested in health sciences, I also have a lecture series on bodybuilding and nutrition. So go back and check the bodybuilding and nutrition live streams provided here on the channel. All right, the second prefix is hypo, and that means below. The first word here is hypocrite. So do you know the meaning of this word here, hypocrite? Well, we know that hippo as a prefix means below. When it is combined with the root word crite, we see this root word crite in the modern day in words such as criteria, critic, critical, and criticism, right? So the crite in hypocrite is connected to the critic in critical or criticism. Criterion is the term we use for the set of standards. For example, the basic criterion for keeping a job are punctuality, professionalism, and positivity. So criteria and critical or criticism, there is a standard by which things are judged, right? When we're being critical, we are judging something according to the ideal set of standards. And when the prefix hypo is added to crit, a hypocrite, the word hypocrisy, the noun, a hypocrite is a person, and hypocrisy is the noun describing sort of the idea behind why is a person hypocritical, hypocrisy. In ancient Greek, it referred to theatrical acting or pretending. So we can think of the original meaning of a hypocrite, an actor, or what is hypocritical, as to suspend or lower our judgment. In other words, to open ourselves up, open our minds up to the fantastical, the imaginative, the supernatural, or the unreal, right? When we enjoy fiction, when we watch a film or read a work of fiction, we should suspend our judgment. We should allow ourselves to believe in the impossible, suspend our judgment to entertain certain ideas that would be impossible or improbable in real life. So a hypocrite in the original sense was an actor. In the modern day, we use the adjective hypocritical to describe someone who says one thing but does another, synonymous with liar. So hypocritical politicians or leaders, for example, are those who make lofty promises to the people whilst running for office, but then fail to deliver on the promises that won them the popularity to get the job in office. Instead, we watch them engage in corrupt practices, such as accepting bribes in exchange for privileging corporate entities and special interest groups. So somebody who makes false promises and projects themselves in a positive light, but then we see them not live up to the promises, they're called hypocrites or hypocritical. Below the standard, basically. The next word is hypodermic. Again, I mentioned hyper and hypo are seen commonly in biology or medical terminology. Hypodermic, well, the word dermic means skin, the outer layer of our bodies is the dermis. A physician who specializes in treating skin conditions is a dermatologist. So hypodermic needle or syringe is the medical instrument that is used to extract blood or to make an injection. And our last word here, hypothesis. The understanding that we have about the world that we inhabit comes about as the result of thousands of years of human civilization. We are a species capable of using our minds to solve problems and improve our livelihood. Language is one of the most important means by which we have accomplished our place of supremacy in the natural world. In other words, we can act collaboratively or collectively through language, through communication. In order to make sense of the world, that is, in order to separate the fact from the fantasy, we have devised the scientific method. It is a process by which we try to prove something is true in the natural world through experiment and observation. Because our knowledge is always developing, our understanding is also subject to change. Certain truths, however, are so fundamental that they can be considered laws of nature. They are the premises by which we can form new statements, propositions, or predictions. We call this process of coming up with new propositions or predictions the hypothesis. So, coming from a certain premise, we say that something could be true. We then construct means of testing the hypothesis through deductive logic or experimentation. If the hypothesis can be tested and validated many times by many people, it can then be added to our body of knowledge as a proven hypothesis or theory. In other words, don't believe anything that I tell you, do your own research. The word thesis, in the original ancient sense, meant to place. So a hypothesis thusly meant to place under, as in to make a new statement based on an existing one, the premise. The words hypothesis and thesis are almost synonymous. So the root word here is thesis. And hypothesis and thesis in the modern day are almost synonymous. Nowadays, a thesis commonly refers to a written work, whereas the word hypothesis is used when discussing scientific experimentation. Now, if you would like to learn more about the history of the scientific method and how it came to, and how scientific research is being conducted in the present day, I would recommend that you refer to the previous video lecture series on natural philosophers, as well as branches of science provided on this channel. And there's also a lecture available on strategies for developing your outline for speech or essay writing, entitled Great Speeches, that you may want to check out as well. All right, let's summarize here. Hyperbole is an exaggeration, overstatement, made deliberately to emphasize a point. Hypertext is a software system allowing cross-referencing between related sections of text and associated graphic material. Hypertext. Cross-referencing between related sections of text, electronic software system. Hypertrophy, the process by which putting strain on a muscle causes the body to repair it, resulting in an increase in muscle fiber. A hypocrite is someone who acts in a way that belies their words. A liar Hypodermic, below the skin, and hypothesis, a proposition, a statement made as a basis for reasoning, for coming up with new kinds of conclusions. All right, so coming up in future lessons, more prefixes beginning with the letters I, M, and M. And I would, if you've watched this far, I want to congratulate you for doing that. And if you would like to communicate with me, by all means, leave me a comment, send me a private message. I can provide you with downloadable materials, or we can arrange to have a call. And yeah, I provide videos at least once a week, sometimes more. So if you enjoy this video, if you enjoy this kind of video or content, and you want to support the creation of future content, help me spread this channel, leave a like and follow, share the information with those that may benefit, that you feel may benefit from it, okay? And I will see you in the next lesson in about a week's time. So thanks again for watching. Bye for now.